Hello and welcome on into episode 111 of the Wise Guys podcast. This is John Tortorelli, Brian Capozziello, and Justin Ray, and today we'll be discussing DeAndre Hopkins, the Patriots potentially toward the end, but before that, we will discuss Bradley Beal rumors to the Miami Heat. Should the Miami Heat look to make that move or continue on? And then I also want to do I also am excited to talk about our top 10 center rankings today. It is quite clear Nikola Jokic will be one, and there will be a massive gap between one and two. But with all that being said, how are you guys doing today on this Thursday?
Feeling good, feeling good. Today, I'm coaching my little kids in a championship baseball game, so my mind is racing. So I got the thoughts of the podcast while I'm thinking of lineups and pitching matchups for my games. Yeah, I take 12U baseball very seriously. I probably shouldn't, but I love my kids.
Competitor.
Yeah.
I'm doing good this Thursday morning. They're still doing construction on my street. They basically closed the entire thing off. I had to go down a one way to be able to park on my street. But, we're doing good right now. Day off, getting a haircut finally, seeing the Flash movie, pumped for that. But I'm also pumped to talk some basketball and football. DeAndre Hopkins to the Patriots, guys. What?
What's up with you, John?
Much like Brandon, I guess I would say parking and car issues the last 24 hours, but that's not why you're here for the content. Justin, before we dive in to Bradley Beal and the rumors that have now circulated, what do you think about the Nuggets winning the championship?
Finally, I got something right, right? So, I mean, that felt good to call it in five. It was just pretty simple. As I told you guys before, I think the Miami Heat was just overmatched. Overmatched. There was too much on that Denver Nuggets roster. They were too deep. They could throw so many different rotations at you, and Miami just had no answer for it. And like I said, you needed a superhuman effort out of guys like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and quite frankly, you didn't get it. In Game Five, Jimmy Butler has two big threes late, and I was watching the game, and then I was like, oh, those are the only two threes he hit in the game. That's not what you expected out of him. You expect so much more out of him, and like I said, that superhuman effort that he gave Miami against Milwaukee is something that only happens every once in a while. That's not something that you can rely upon throughout an entire playoff run. But kudos to the Miami Heat. Everybody stepped up to even get them to the point that they were, beating Milwaukee, beating the Knicks, beating Boston. You gotta give them respect. But credits to Denver, first ever NBA title. Nikola Jokic, greatest player on the planet.
I saw a crazy stat. The Nuggets lost 4 games this playoff run, and the average margin is single digits. In the playoffs, they did not lose a single game by double digits, and the total differential in losses was 21 points. And I see morons saying, well, they played 3 playing teams. Well, obviously, when you're the number 1 seed, the way it works is you typically play the last seed in the playoffs. And then for all the people out there that call the Kings and Grizzlies pretenders, though they're the second and third seeds, well, the Nuggets didn't play the pretenders. They played the real contenders that had Kevin Durant and LeBron James. They swept one and knocked out the other. So I'm glad that you talked about the Heat a little bit because, look, I think we know that Jimmy Butler's performance versus the Bucks in the first round at large was due to the way they defended him one-on-one. And to expect that out of Jimmy in the playoffs is a bit unrealistic. Not only that, but the Heat were the A seed this regular season. And now the Washington Wizards, after 19 years, have finally decided to move on from Bradley Beal. And they can trade him anywhere he wants to go because he has a no trade clause and a 15% trade kicker. So good thing they added that into the deal when they gave him a $250 million extension a year ago. That being said, I think it's no brainer. The Miami Heat have to make a big time splash this summer for a star because they're so close to contention. And with Jimmy Butler playing at this level, going on 34 years old, you can't take it for granted. You need a 1B on the offensive end.
Yeah, well, no, I would say you need a 1A on the offensive end. Jimmy himself has said he is not a scorer, and I think we all realize that it's not really what he does best. Um, so, yeah, you need to go get a guy. And listen, me and John, uh, he said when I tweeted out I wouldn't blow up the team for Bradley Beal, I would only blow it up for Dame. And he tweeted back, you were an 8th seed for a reason. And I simply tweeted back at him, Beal doesn't change life. Dame does change life. And that's a factual statement. So I stand by what I said. The only person I'm blowing this team up for is Damian Lillard. I hope to God we're not going after Bradley Beal. This is not to slight Bradley Beal. He's a great player. All right. He's barely top 30 though. Barely right now. He hasn't been on a winning team in how long? Since John Wall, was in his prime.
2017.
And when they were making that run, Bradley Beal was the 2. He wasn't the 1. That's another thing in Dame's cap. Dame has always been the 1. He's always been the 1. Dame fits our culture so much better than Bradley Beal. Damian Lillard is a underdog and an overachiever from Weber State. Weber State. All right. And this kid is being mentioned. He's not a kid anymore. This guy is being mentioned with the likes of Steph Curry. Okay. A top 10 player of all time. So that's what I mean when I say I'll blow up the team for Damian Lillard and not Bradley Beal, because Damian Lillard, I know, can be that one guy who's going to take a lot of pressure off of Jimmy Butler in terms of handling the ball and playmaking a lot. Damian's going to take a lot of that. Damian Lillard just came off of averaging 32 points per game. Justin, wasn't John a month or two ago the guy who was debating the hell out of me, saying Damian Lillard was having his best season of his entire career and was a first-team All-NBA player this year?
Correct.
Where was Bradley Beal in that conversation? Because he was not brought up at all. There's a reason for that. That's why I change, and that's why I want Damian Lillard on the Miami Heat.
Listen, I'm with Brandon there. I think the move has to be Damian Lillard. I don't think Bradley Beal is enough of a needle mover, and it's a guy that he looks like he's on the decline, and he could still score, but he's not the player that we saw just a couple of years ago that people were begging for. Bradley Beal hasn't elevated his teammates in Washington, hasn't elevated that team whatsoever. But on the other end, I can show you postseason games where Damian Lillard is carrying the load and hitting big shots after big shots, trying to will Portland to a victory. That's exactly what Miami needs. That's what all these teams are probably going to be looking for in this offseason. Now, if you're settling for a guy like Bradley Beal, like I look at my Knicks and how we were so eager to acquire stars, and we didn't care who the name was. It was just a star. Bradley Beal is not the guy. Just ask the Wizards all of their mistakes over the years. Would they make that move again? Probably they would. But overall, it's Dame. That's an MVP. That's an all-pro talent. That's a future Hall of Famer right there. That's a guy that if you input him in Miami right now, that is probably the best team in the East.
I agree with you guys. If you can get Dame, it's no brainer.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing real quick, because Justin said something. I don't know if he noticed he said it or if it was intentional. He said the word settle. Never want to hear that when you're going and saying we're star hunting. We're star hunting. We're settling? Who the F wants to settle?
Beggars?
We're not beggars, because we were just in the Eastern Conference last 3 out of 4 years when we weren't supposed to be.
Your starting point guard's not a restricted free agent.
Okay, what is that?
You're $15 million into the luxury.
What are you debating, though?
You're going to lose Gabe Vincent. Kevin Love's a free agent.
Okay.
Max Strus is a free agent.
Well, what are you making? What point are you making, though? What point are you making?
The Heat can't be choosers. They don't have their 2025 first-round pick. Look, if you're gonna acquire Damian Lillard, you have to overwhelm the Blazers with the package. Otherwise, you're not getting him.
Where are you getting that information from?
Logic.
Okay, there's logic there, but there's also Damian Lillard demands a trade and says, I want out.
And there's Damian Lillard going to pre-draft workouts with the Portland Trail Blazers after years of saying he settled down in Portland, Oregon.
I understand that, but we're going off the hypothesis that he wants out.
No, we're going off the reality. He's probably not going to be traded unless the Portland Trail Blazers deem the move and the return too good to pass up.
I don't believe that. I think they do right by Damian Lillard.
Because they've done right by him for the last couple of years, right?
I mean, they've paid him handsomely.
Yeah.
He's wanted to be there. That's not their fault. If I come to you, John, I say I want to be here. I don't know what we're doing. Then okay, what am I supposed to hand you? You want to be here, so you obviously want to play in this crappy situation. This is what it is. Now, if Dame comes to me and says, "I want out," all right, we're gonna find the best shooter available. And if you tell me the shooter that's available that's going to be best for Damian Lillard, please tell me, because it's not going to be a non-championship contending team. It's not. So tell me the team that's going to trade for Damian Lillard. That's a championship contending team that's going to go get Damian Lillard. Tell me what their assets are.
There is none. But you're not betting against the Knicks or the Sixers.
So this is not like out of the blue too, John. Damian Lillard literally on record 2 weeks ago, I think, said, I don't like the position. Actually, the whole year he has been saying, I don't really like the position that the Trailblazers are going. If they continue to say, we're not going for a championship contending, I don't want to be here. He has openly said that.
He's also openly said a year ago the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And the year before that, he backed out of a trade request that he could have demanded to the Lakers if he really wanted to go.
Okay, but things change. 2 years ago is 2 years ago. Last year is last year. I'm talking what has just happened. What he said 2 weeks ago was, if the Miami Heat don't win a championship, I'd love to go to Miami. He literally said openly, for the first time I think ever, teams that he would like to go play for if he were to leave the Trailblazers. And Miami was one of them. So this isn't out for, out of the blue or anything. This is taking Damian Lillard, and this is what we do. We see what Damian Lillard says. We go off of it, and that's what we go off of. To get Damian Lillard, obviously, the Miami Heat aren't offering this insane deal that you're like, whoa, we're getting Bam and Jimmy Butler for dinner. No, you're not. Okay, that's not happening because this doesn't happen. You don't see the Rudy Gobert trades that often. That is not the rule. That is an exception. You're not going to get back equal or better value for Damian Lillard. The Trailblazers know that. It's about getting the best deal. And I think right now the Miami Heat are primed to put up the best deal.
Also
because
John,
they are. Because sorry, one more thing. Because why they are? Because they're willing to put up the best deal for the Trailblazers. Because the Trailblazers already know they are not contending for a championship anytime soon. They're playing the long game for the future. So obviously they would take the draft picks. They would take a young player in Tyler Hero. They take an expiring contract. They take these guys, these picks, and see how the chips fall later down the line. Because keeping Damian Lillard is just, it's insanity. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's not right.
Which is what the Blazers did in the last 5 years.
But and think about this for Miami. One of the greatest architects in NBA history is Pat Riley himself. So he can find something here. Like you said, all these people are leaving. Gabe Vincent may be gone. Your starting point guard's gone. Kevin Love's gone. All of that. Who do you trust more to reconstruct a roster after losing a bunch of people? I trust Pat Riley.
Calvin Booth. Look, I agree with you, Justin, which is why Bradley Beal to the Miami Heat is inevitable. You talk about a guy that's massively overpaid. Why? Why is Bradley Beal overpaid?
Because he's the only guy, the only star they have. No stars are coming to the Washington Wizards.
He's the 30th best player in the NBA. But he's one of the NBA's 30 best players.
Yes.
In 2017, he was one of the better number twos on a Wizards team that took the Celtics to 7 games. He was supposed to be the perfect complementary piece, the third best player when Kevin Durant signed with them in 2016. That's why they hired Scott Brooks after a lot of people knew he wasn't a great coach. Bradley Beal, since 2017, has developed as a playmaker, on-ball creator, and defensively, where he's taken a step back in the last couple of years, it's naturally because we all know Bradley Beal. Let me move my mic, sorry. We all know Bradley Beal is not served to be number one. The same way Chris Middleton is not served to be one either. Chris Middleton gets paid $150. It's $1 million. It's a no-brainer because he is the $1 million, the perfect piece next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. The CM is Michael Porter Jr. You put Bradley Beal in Miami, he is the exact missing piece, but he can be one of the guys defensively to where you start him and you don't have to worry about his limitations. He's also just turning 30 years old, and we can all understand, let's be honest, Devin Booker's the best shooting guard in the league. He's amazing. He was phenomenal this postseason run. Bradley Beal is 90% the player Devin Booker is. 90%, maybe even higher, and he's only 3 years older.
I don't know. You're putting Bradley Beal on a pedestal that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I don't know how you say Bradley Beal is the perfect fit for the Miami Heat when he's a guy who is obviously seen. I'm only going off of the actions he has put out is about his money more than about winning. Because if it was about winning, he would have left when his contract was up and not signed a massive contract that everybody and their mother has been saying is one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Okay.
You're blaming Beal for getting his money?
No, did those words ever come out of my mouth? I said if he wanted to, first off, you cut me off and didn't let me finish my point. I said if he wanted to be about winning, he could have left, gotten a pretty damn good bag. Like it's not like let's not act like these guys are not getting paid $175+ million. Okay, you're not getting the 250. 175 million is not nothing to sneeze at. Plus, you get a ring. So it's basically asking you, does a ring mean more to you? Because right now he has signed a contract that is so massive that any team he goes to, they are going to be royally fucked because they are going to have to give up so much to be able to match up the contracts and get them. And how much, dude, the CBA or whatever is just about to kick in soon about if you go over the luxury tax, however much you get X amount of more money put onto your bill and then you got to pay it. That's so that like this is madness, man. This is madness. That's too much. Damian Lillard's contract is much more plausible and much more realistic and much more easy. It's still going to go over the cap, but it's much easier to deal with than Bradley Beal's. Plus, you're getting a much better player, much better. A guy who's proven to be a one. Didn't he just score 70 this year?
Yes, he scored 30.
Okay. So I'm just saying though, like this. Okay, listen. Is it a pie in the sky, John? I'll say that. Yeah, the puncher. What happened?
You know that Mark Bartelstein, his agent, is the guy who was able to finesse Kyle Lowry to the Heat. He's been one of the savviest agents. Look, I understand Bradley Beal's contract is a joke, but if you're the player, you can't blame him and his agent for doing great business.
I never said that.
The right move is getting. Let me speak. The right move is getting the Supermax contract by the Wizards, and then the way we see nowadays with stars, once you get the money, you request a trade a year later. That's exactly what's going to go on here. Yeah, he's getting a lot of money. He's paying a great agent, probably 5% of that, honestly. He deserves fucking 20% for the no trade clause. Shout out to Mark Bartelstein. He's one of the best agents in the NBA. And if Bradley Beal wants to go to Miami, they're going to find a way to not royally screw them in terms of assets. I think the no-brainer move is Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero's salary, plus their 2027 and 2029 first-round picks. If you have to include pick 18 this year too, you do it, but then you have to get back DeLon Wright, who's one of the best backup point guards in the league too, because Bradley's negative at a contract. That being said, what you need is a bucket getter. And the second round of the 2017 playoffs, when John Wall was struggling from the field, it was Bradley Beal that forced a Game 7. He was the one going toe-to-toe with Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
His shot creation was the perfect complement to a player that wasn't a great three-point shooter. He's a three-level scorer. He's arguably the best playmaker at the shooting guard position with his growth, and then he's also a fine defender and off-ball player too.
I think there's too many what ifs when it comes to this Bradley Beal thing. I think, like I said, I think you're putting Bradley Beal on a pedestal that, bro, you're telling me about 2017. Guess what? 2017 is so far behind us, bro. The Yankees were playing in the ALCS in 2017. I thought we were going to win the World Series. What was that? Nothing happened since. That's so long ago. That's 6-7 years ago now.
That was when Bradley was 23. He's got.
And guess what? Now he has an extra 7 years of mileage on him. He's 30 years old. He's not the same player. He's not the 1B that you want in Miami. When you can get that guaranteed player, like you said, a first-team All-Pro player, All-NBA player, and Damian Lillard, you don't miss. If you can take the swing and acquire somebody of that caliber, why sit on your hands? And as I said before, and Brandon said, settle for somebody that you haven't seen in the spotlight. Yeah. You're getting a player that has proven to you that he can play in the postseason. And then now you want me to acquire Bradley Beal, who the last time he proved something to you in the postseason was when?
Can I
2017.
can I just
What has Dame done after the first rounds?
wait, John.
He's done nothing outside the first round. It
But
was CJ
imagine,
McCollum that
but,
got to the conference final. Not him.
has Dame
Not him.
had an Eric Spoelstra? Has Dame had a Jimmy Butler and company with him? No.
But I just want to ask one.
Bradley Beal did. They had their best season since 1976.
I just want to clear
something.
It's
been 6-7 years.
What are we doing here, man?
Can I just be clear? Wait, John, stop. Can I just want to clear something up real quick. John, are you saying like the Miami Heat shouldn't go after Damian Lillard because it's not possible and that's why they should go after Bradley Beal? Or are you just outright saying that if you have the option to go after either and get either one, go Bradley Beal over Damian Lillard? Is that what you're saying right now?
I said if you can get Dame, you do it.
Okay,
but
thank you.
Unlikely they don't get Dame.
I got you. I hear you. I get it. I was literally about to say 5 minutes ago. Is it a pie in the sky? Is it a 5% chance we get Dame? 10% chance, whatever. Sure, I'm here to say this is not insanely possible.
5% of the segment speaking
but hold on. If I'm the Miami Heat and there's even a chance I can get Dame, I'm going after Dame first. And the clock is ticking because if you're going to include that 18th overall pick this year, you have a week to do it or whatever it is. Less than a week now. Or I think actually exactly a week, exactly 7 days. So the clock is ticking. So if that's the case, they need to be on the phone yesterday with the Portland Trailblazers talking about a Damian Lillard trade. And if that can get done, then you get that deal done. If that's not plausible, then we explore the other options. Then we start talking about Bradley Beal. Me and Justin are basically saying this is the whole confusion between us, the debate. Me and Justin are saying, if you can go get Dame, which you agree with, you go get Dame. But if you can't, me and Justin, would have to say, okay, you can't get Dame. Now we got to talk about the other option. And is Bradley Beal the best of the other options? Sure. But it's not the number one pick. It's not Andrew Luck. It's not Peyton Manning. It's I don't know.
The 2011 Colts
Jared Goff. It's Jared Goff.
The 2011 Colts weren't in
Jared
Super Bowl.
Goff.
They were a 2-win team.
It's Jared because Payton was injured. They were in the 11-win team the year prior when Payton was
the Heat
healthy.
were just in the NBA Finals, and Jimmy Butler disappeared. It was honest. Let's be honest. It was very disappointing after seeing them dismantle the Bucks and the Celtics. They decided to just morph back into the regular season form versus the Nuggets.
To do it.
So, if you were that close to a championship in 2 of the last 4 years, you got to the finals. You beat the Bucks and the Celtics in those runs. Bradley Beal does change life in Miami. He's a top 30 player for a reason. His skill set's complementary. He doesn't need to be on the ball. But in the 20 regular season games Jimmy may want to sit out, Bradley will drop 35 points. And with Bam and the role players, they're still going to win games. You can't roll into the year like the 1995 Rockets being the 6th seed or the 8th and expect to win championships. No, if the Heat want to actually win a title, they're going to have to be a lot more like last year. The 1st seed, you get home court advantage. And Bradley Beal makes that difference. Bradley Beal is not Jared Goff. Jared Goff at his peak was maybe a top 8 quarterback. Bradley Beal is a guy that's averaged 30 points per game back-to-back years on offenses that without him were desolate. He can carry a team. At least in the second unit, he can carry. Right? He's not going to lead you to the finals. But if you need bucket getting, he's going to bring that as good as any player on the market. And for the Dame Lillard point, he's done nothing outside the first round of the playoffs because he's never played with the star, and I get that. But because of his limitations and that physicality and that play style, it's so reliant on jump shooting, I don't think Dame, while he is a borderline top 10 player, to be clear, I think he's like 13. I have him at 14 currently. Yeah. The reality is Dame is not perfect. And you're still going to have concerns about his defensive ability. With Bradley Beal, you don't have that. He's also 3 years younger than Dame, too. Hell, he's 4 years younger than Dame. So why not? It's a great move for the Heat if all you have to give up is 2 first-round picks and Bubble Boy.
Because it's, you ask why not? Because if you can get Damian Lillard, you go get Damian Lillard. But if you can't, I just said, then okay, we are forced to explore the other options. And those other options would obviously be top of the list would be Bradley Beal.
It's a good great consolation, is it not?
Oh
Is that
my
not a
God.
great
See,
consolation?
you're saying it again. Justin got caught saying settled. You just got caught saying consolation. That's not good when you're saying we need a guy to basically be the 1A scorer, the 1A scorer on the team. We can't be saying consolation and settle for that. Would you be saying that about Damian Lillard? No. You'd be saying, God damn, we got Dame. But all I'm saying, John, is I hear you. I understand you. And I agree with your points if Dame's off the market. If he's on the market, I completely disagree with you. If he's off, then we're on the same page. Okay, Bradley Beal is the best we can get, and we got to go get Bradley Beal. I'm not going to be very happy about it, but let's see how the chips fall. DeLone Wright, you say he's the best backup point guard in the game. To me,
He's one of
Kyle Lowry provided so much that is not seen within the box score. You have to actually watch and see him play to be able to see what he provides and how much he provides for a team. There's so many times where the charge, the stripped balls, drawing the fouls and whatever, pushing the pace down the court.
right from the neck down.
But it's still, he provided so much for that team. I've been calling for two guys to come to the Miami Heat. This is what I've been calling for, two guys to come, and they're not superstars, they're not stars. One of them is Patrick Beverley, who I think fits the Miami Heat culture perfectly, and he is easily can do what everything I just said Kyle Lowry does. Patrick Beverley does that. Patrick Beverley does all of that as well. And the other guy,
besides score,
I mean, he's made big shots, dude. He's made big shots.
Yes, that's why he's gone out multiple times. Yeah.
What are we doing here though? Like,
you need a dynamic
level
scorer, not Patrick Beverley, to play 13 minutes off the bench.
What happened?
I know Udonis Haslam's retiring, but you need a dynamic elite level scorer, not Pat Bev, who's going to play 13 minutes.
Time the fuck out. What are we talking? Guys, I'm not talking. Do you guys listen when I talk? I said I'm not talking superstar. No, you don't. I'm not talking superstar and star. I'm talking about a backup point guard right now.
I don't argue that. I just don't think Pat Bev's the move. That's all I said.
Pat Bev doesn't have. So wait, you're saying Patrick Beverley coming off the bench does not help the Miami Heat like a Kyle Lowry coming off the bench does?
But like John said, there's a reason he's been bouncing between team to team. He doesn't stick.
Minimum contract player. Brandon, yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
I want to know who's the next player.
Yo, you guys, go ahead.
Who's the next player?
I don't understand what I'm
curious.
The wall right now. I'm talking about guys coming off the bench and providing good minutes and quality minutes and veteran style play who fit the Heat culture. And you guys are looking at me like I got fucking 50 eyes.
No, it's because you said he can do exactly what Kyle Lowry does.
Kyle Lowry.
I'm not talking
Bradley Beal here. What? Go ahead. What?
By the way, Kyle Lowry brings a lot to the table.
So
not $27 million worth.
No shit, Sherlock.
You praised him like he was making $6 million a year.
Bro, am I talking to fucking? Do you guys have brains that work, please? I'm trying. Nobody is saying that this guy is worth $27 million. Those words don't come out of my mouth. Listen when I speak. I am talking about a guy who is going to make $4 or $5 million or whatever in Patrick Beverley and can provide quality minutes off the bench. And you guys are sitting here saying, no, what are we talking about here? He doesn't change life, but he helps off the bench. You're not going to sit here and say he doesn't.
He doesn't move the needle, is word.
Nobody's saying he's going to move the needle. Who the Scott is saying that he's not? What are you doing? Yo, do you actually have a brain that works? Does it comprehend?
I'm confused because you're getting so passionate about Patrick Beverley.
I'm not.
I'm passionate about you. He is not going to move the needle.
Saying. Holy shit! I feel like I'm talking to nobody. Like, why are you trying to argue right now?
Brandon, tranquilo, pap, tranquilo.
Because you guys are like on this side of the conversation, and I'm over here just trying.
No, we're not. You're not even hearing what I'm saying.
What you're saying is you're not understanding what I'm saying. Nobody is talking about a needle mover. I didn't even say that.
I just said he doesn't score. You said he can do. I quote that he can do just about the same stuff as Kyle Lowry. And then I said, he can't score.
But he can't.
That's it.
But then you said after that he doesn't change life. He doesn't do this. I never said that.
Because Kyle Lowry is an impact player.
So is Patrick Beverly.
All right, who's the next player?
Yeah, so is Patrick Beverly's not an impact player.
No, that's why he's off so many teams.
We can go down the list of why he's off the teams, and you know why he's off those teams.
He's just a heckler. His defense is overrated.
What? He's an All-NBA defensive player.
Brent, he's 6 feet tall and 34 years old. I'm sorry.
So is Kyle Lowry. If we're getting rid of Kyle, why can't we replace him with a guy like Patrick?
But Lowry is thick enough to at least switch, take charges, defend in the post. Lowry can guard in some guard.
Go look at the numbers. So does Patrick Beverly.
What numbers? His steals per game? He averages.
No. Go look at Patrick Beverly. Go look at what he was doing. Go look at. Nobody's saying he's changing life, but he does provide impact player. He does.
The last time Pat made all defensive team? 2020? 2018?
Pretty sure he's made all defensive team. He's made all defensive team.
Yeah, 2020, 2017, 2014. He just doesn't have the versatility.
3 times. Notice, so doesn't Kyle Lowry. I'm talking about replacing one old veteran player for another one.
No more Patrick Beverly talking the show. That's enough. The most recent clip I heard of Pat Bev was him saying the 2022 Timberwolves are more impressive than the 2023 champion Nuggets. So, who is the second player on your list?
Basketball skill. The second player is DeMarcus Cousins.
This is good.
How is this not you guys? I'm sorry, not you, Justin. John, your brain doesn't work properly. It doesn't. So you're telling me you'd rather have Cody Zeller on the court than DeMarcus Cousins? Just say yes or no.
Cousins was not in the league this year.
Is that because of his skill set or because teams are blackballing him? Answer the question legitly. Go ahead. Is it skill or is it because he's being blackballed?
DeMarcus Cousins is not being blackballed. This is his personality. That's the reason why he's not.
Let's move on. Let's move on from the because you don't want to have a logical conversation. Let's move on to the next topic, please. Let's move on to the next topic. If you don't want to have a logical conversation, you want to live in fairy tale land. Let's move on to the next topic. Top 10 centers in the league. Let's go.
Nikola Jokic.
Speaking of centers from DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins is former starter. So how would you guys like to do this? We like to start. I think it's best to start off number 1 on to 10 and 12. But do you want me to start, or would one of you like to take the honor?
Well, I mean, we all know Nikola Jokic is the number 1 center in the league, right?
By far the best rebounder, best passer, best scorer. And I honestly think, hot take here, Karl Anthony Towns said, when I retire, they're going to remember me for changing the game. Let's be honest. Nikola Jokic might be a better shooter than Karl Anthony Towns. Towns has played 3 playoff series in his career. He showed up in 0 of them for his career in the playoffs. And this is going from a cat guy. He shot 33% from deep. NBA players need delusional confidence. That being said, Jokic in the playoffs is second all-time in three-point percentage at 41%. From mid-range, he is over 50%, and that's his worst. Karl Anthony Towns at 50% is his best. And when you look at the signature shots on AD and LeBron James in the conference finals, somewhere Karl Anthony Towns may never be, I'm sorry, I think you can make a legit case here. Nikola, on top of all of those things, is the best passer or is the best shooter at this position too. Am I crazy to say that?
No. It's not crazy.
Let me look at the no, he's up there with yeah. So yeah, but I don't want to make listen, we've talked about Nikola Jokic, not nauseating, but we know his skill set. He's the best player in the world. We obviously know that, so obviously he's going to be number 1. I think we all agree on number 2. Now, John might have a little haterade in his system, but no. I feel
There's
like
a clear gap though between 1 and 2.
There it is. He likes to take his jabs at the one Joel Embiid, who is the second best center in the league, I believe.
I agree. I'm just coming off an MVP season too. Yeah.
3 deserving MVP caliber seasons. Now, Jokic may have been the most deserving, but Embiid the last 3 years has been an all-defensive player, and at the same time, oh my God, 31 points per game. That's the highest 3-year peak since we're talking Shaq in 2000. Now, of course, Embiid's play style in the playoffs, it's reliant on a 3-throw shooting, right? He goes to the foul line 12 times per game, where he's an 84% shooter. And so that's like the largest part of his volume. And then also tougher shot making. The issue is, while his playstyle is very Hakeem Olajuwon-like, he has zero the burst and quickness that I shouldn't say zero because Embiid is quick and he's nimble, but Hakeem was so much more crafty and decisive, and he was able to beat guys and get to the rim a little bit more. In terms of the skill level, though, I think Embiid here is pretty clearly number 2, and then there's a gap between him and number 3. It's just the playoff appearances from him. Like, we do have to acknowledge the best team Embiid has ever beat in the playoffs is the 2022 Raptors. Whereas the third best center for me is Bam Adebayo, who's gone to the finals twice now as number 2.
Wow.
So the third, okay. I'm interested because I wonder if you don't have this guy at center, but I think you do because you got mad at me a couple months ago when I said he was a power forward. My third is I love Bam Adebayo. It's Anthony Davis. I believe Anthony Davis is the third best center.
I didn't have AD, but
Okay,
if you were to have Anthony Davis, guys, I had
yeah.
him above Joel Embiid at number 2.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I did you include Anthony Davis in your centers, Dustin? Or you put him?
Yeah, he's my number 3.
Okay. So then, why did you get mad at me a couple months ago, John, when I was saying he was a power forward? You didn't even include him in your centers.
Because he played 100% of his minutes at center. But when I was doing this, fellas, it was a extension of the offseason. In 2022, last year, Davis played more power forward. And so he was just not in my rankings. And so I forgot about it. Okay. He was the one player I just
didn't so you just move everybody down, then Anthony Davis is your number 2. Okay, so yeah, Anthony Davis is my number 3. Yeah, he suffers from similar things that Joel Embiid does, the injury concerns. If not, he would be, probably not ranked higher. But I believe Joel Embiid's the better shooter overall than Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a better defender, versatility-wise as well. So yeah, those two are not interchangeable, but they're pretty, similar players. Embiid and Anthony Davis.
At his peak of powers, he's an MVP candidate. He can be every year.
Yes.
The dude puts up ridiculous numbers. He's averaging 25.9, 12 and a half rebounds, and almost 3 assists. And then let's not even get started on the block party that he had in the postseason at the early starts of it. So yeah, I got him at number 3, and number 4, I got Bam.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Can I add to the Anthony Davis thing?
Yeah.
AD in New Orleans was not an MVP candidate, but he also went as far as Embiid. I think his versatility defensively, but then also the rebounding that's equal to Joel. I think the gap here is really just Davis has been more durable than Embiid in the playoffs. You know how weird that is to say. He had the 2020 run this year he was so dominant. He made Ja Morant kind of look like a kid in the first round. Then in round 2, he didn't have a great, I think it was game 6 that they won. It was game 5 where he had the block on Steph or the save on Steph at the end. I don't think he had a perfect offensive series, but his defense was so phenomenal. Like, that is something Joel Embiid has and never will do against a Steph Curry. And so I think for that reason, he earned the spot as the number 2 center this year. Played 56 games, 3 throw shooting, back up to 78%. We're not going to see the 3-pointer be at 38% again. But with what he can do as well on the glass, I know it's Jokic. He dominated him. AD's probably the second best rebounder in this group.
Yeah, and Anthony Davis' greatness is personified. Played every playoff game this season. My number 4, I agree with Justin, is Bam Adebayo. He's over my 5th guy simply because he has been so much more successful than this guy. His offense is not on the level of the 5th guy, but his defense is leaps and bounds ahead of it. He's a better passer, playmaker, in my opinion. So yeah, I've grown to absolutely love Bam Adebayo as one of my guys from the Heat culture. So Bam is my and he's honestly he showed that. I know, albeit the second half of Game 5 was pretty terrific. I think he was 1 for 7. Bam did show that if asked to, he can score the ball at a pretty good rate. He's obviously got some holes. The mid-range game is not what it should be. But yeah, he has taken steps forward, and I love Bam. He's only like 25, 26 years old or something, so he's still got time to improve.
25.
And his free throw percentage, he's a great free throw shooter for a big man. I know he's undersized, but a big man.
Yeah, I was going to say that, undersized center, but Bam always shows up. He's been a part of 2 finals runs now for the Miami Heat. He's an all-star. He averaged 20 points per game this season, too. And that's just to think that scoring isn't really his focal point. So if he can add that element on the offensive end where he can, I think he can raise it up to a 25 points per game guy because he's skilled. He has very good skills. And if he knocks down the mid-range game, I think Bam could be a real problem because he already has it down packed on the defensive end. He's versatile enough to play at the 3-point line or in the paint as well. So I
Yeah,
like that.
he's not a big bad guy. That's your cup of tea. The post game is disgusting, and the mid range game, as you guys talked about, waxes and wanes. But he's the most versatile defender in the sport. And if you put him at the power forward position, which I think is where he's most natural, this guy gets asked to guard the rim and the space at the same time. And I know he's a great defender, but no one can do that. And so with the fact he averages 20 a game and he's one of the 4 best passers at the entire position, it's a very safe pick here. At some point, this guy's got an all NBA team. 2-time All-Star, no defensive player of the year. It's funny how Spo's the best coach, no coach of the year. Bam's got 4 all defensive teams.
He got all defense. That's
all 4 years he started.
Yeah.
Bam, arguably the best defender in the sport, is 0 depoys up until this point. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a good luck charm.
Yeah. Spo not having a coach of the year award is criminal. My number 5 guy that I was talking about, hinting at earlier, is Karl Anthony Towns. I believe he should be higher because his skill set says he should be higher, but he has not shown, and his actions have not. The quote just came out yesterday. I think it was. People, when I'm retired, will say I changed the game. You can speak all you want. You got to go put your ass on the court and do it. There's a reason Jimmy Butler, said some things and left the Minnesota Timberwolves. There's times where, and I heard one of his conversations where he was talking about one of the Jimmy Butler practices, and I don't know what it was, but it just rubbed me the wrong way, the way he was speaking about it, where he's like, people know about me. Like people, like I'm that dog. I got the, and it's like, I hear you saying it. I don't believe you. I don't feel it when you say it. So Cat should be higher. Cat should be in the conversation with AD, Jokic, and Embiid. He should be. His skill set says it. It's time to go out there and freaking do it, man. Like, go out there and play harder. There's the big thing on Cat. What is it? SAWFT. Soft. Go out there and prove it to us. Be that guy.
No, I didn't have Cat as a center because Rudy Gobert was playing center. But if we're gonna play the
I got
game,
them both ranked at centers, but
yeah. So if we're gonna play that game, then I'll throw him at 5 too because I wanted to put Cat on my list. So I'm with you. I think Cat is insanely skilled and hasn't even really reached his peak yet. Well, I hope he hasn't reached his peak yet because he's such a talented ball player that I'm waiting to see that next level with him in the Timberwolves.
Yeah, 40% career, well, actually 39.5% career 3-point shooter, 11 rebounds per game, was hurt for the entirety of this year, played just 29 games. But I was going to come in here and make fun of him for getting locked up by Aaron Gordon, but then Jimmy Butler did as well in the finals. So here's what I'll say. Cat is a phenomenal shooter, and his drive game opened up a lot for the Timberwolves, where a year ago they finished in the second half of 2022 as the best offense in the league. And he was one of the 2 best players alongside Ant-Man, 1A, 1B. But he has 0 playoff resume, and he provides 0 utility. He's one of the worst defenders at the position, and I've given him a lot, and I mean a lot. I've defended him a lot, but the word I'm looking for here is I've given him a lot of benefit of the doubt. Coming out of Kentucky, he was supposed to be a good one, but he can't protect the rim. He can't guard in space. He's not that quick off the ball. Like, he can blow by a center, but if you put an athletic 4 on him, he can't do anything off the dribble. He doesn't have much of a dribble drive game, kind of like Joel Embiid. And so a lot of his offense has to come out at the post. And I think from a production perspective, I mean, the guy is a 2-time All-NBA player, 3-time All-Star. He's deserving to be in the top 5, but I don't think he's going to move any higher than this. I think he's personally peaked.
Yeah, that would be, if that's the case, John, that would be a massive disappointment for a guy who has got so much skill and talent. I know you speak about his shortcomings. I think his skill and talent is there to do those things. He's got to, hone in on the craft and become better in doing it. And if this is the peak, that's disappointing as hell. Number 6, Domantas Sabonis for me.
I had him 5, so we had Cat.
Yeah.
I've got a hot take here. Sabonis, much like Cat, is deserving to be at number 6. I actually have Brook Lopez.
Ooh.
Okay.
Would you like to talk about Brook?
Well,
You
touch
have
us the bonus first. Give Sabonis his flowers.
yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah,
your guy,
Sabonis
John. You
is
were
done.
hyping the Kings up. This is your guy,
Yeah.
Sabonis.
DeMontis this year changed the Kings offense. They were the best in the NBA. In 2020, he did the same thing with the Pacers. They had one of the best offenses. In the bubble, he hasn't played due to surgery. They don't win a single game versus the Heat. From a playmaking perspective, in a Nikola Jokic-less world, DeMontis is the best passer at the center position we've seen in decades, in a long time. He's also one of the best post scorers, shot 66% this year around the cup, and he was also playing through a fracture in his right thumb. Fortunately, he's left-handed. But here's the other thing, too. He grew defensively in certain parts of the year. Opponents in the past have had a lot of fun with him. But I think generally he's so good of a rebounder and led the league in rebounding this year as a whole that with the passing he provides, he can, unlike many of the guys we just talked about before, excluding Jokic, thrive as the second player or the third player in offense because he doesn't need to score to dictate the flow of the game. Now, in the playoffs, the Golden State Warriors did a great job on him. But it's probably the best interior defense in the league, right? If he plays against any other team, I think he has a lot more success. And we've seen the mid-range jumper. It's pretty good. I think his right thumb injury did play some of a role this year in him being a reluctant shooter for mid-range. And so I'm going to cut him some slack. If it's a normal person like Brandon doing this, they have him at 6. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think, well, like I said, if it wasn't for Cat, I'd probably have him in the top 5. I think what he did for the Sacramento Kings offense, I don't know, did they finish as a top offense in the league?
The best of all time in offensive rating.
And a large part of that is due to him. So you got to give him his respect. Averaging 19 points a game, 12 boards also, and almost 10 assists, or 7 assists. But a near triple-double for the guy, for a center, is ridiculous. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's shown you that he can do it in Indiana, and he just stepped it up in Sacramento. So you got to give him his respect. Doesn't get talked about as much because doesn't play in the major market, but he's the real deal.
And also, there's a guy out there who's similar style, but is infinity times better. Yeah. So my number 7 is it's not Brook Lopez. It's Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is coming off of one of his career years, I guess. I'm looking at his numbers.
That was his best year.
Yeah, it was 23 points, 8.5 boards, block and a half a game, 50% from the field, 38.5% from 3, and 85% from the free throw line. I mean, we know Porzingis' game, and I think he really stepped up this season with the Washington Wizards. So I would have him at number 7. I know he's being talked about in some trade packages, a sign and trade mostly, because I think he's declining his player option because he sees that his value is going to be pretty high on the open market after his good year. So
you would think, but the reports that he's opted into the 36, and I don't know. You're right. He had the best year of his career. I had to watch a little bit more of him. Look, I am as a power forward, but he played center this year. And I think if he's going to be included as a center, he's above Sabonis. I think he even has a case of being above Cat. Porzingis this year got back to his elite level as a rim protector. And while the Wizards defense was slightly above average, around the average mark, he was a great shooter. And he averaged 23 points per game. Didn't make the All-NBA team. Only a one-time All-Star. And a lot of that's due to the injuries. But when you get 65 games out of KP, I think he's one of the most ideal complementary players in the league. Obviously, didn't work in Dallas for 3 different reasons. Wasn't a great fit with Luka Doncic, didn't have a large enough role in the offense, and ultimately, he got hurt a lot. But I think now that he's in Washington with a lot of the pressure off of him, it's no surprise he had his best year at 27. He's still improving, and if he can play 60 games a year, I think he should be above Cat personally because of the utility he brings as a defender and shooter.
Well, maybe it's something about the beard that's making him play better. But no, I believe it could be just the non-pressure environment, him playing in Washington. It's a totally different world from playing in MSG and then playing in a high-pressured environment in Dallas because you're expected to contend for a big crown in the West. In Washington, you're not expected to do much. So, just go out there and hoop. And that's what he did. I actually didn't have KP there. I actually had Rudy Gobert because I gave credit to a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. I know we can, bash him all we want. And he really just gets a lot of hate in the media. He doesn't really get any more praise like he used to. What I think 3 defensive player of the years have to count for something. And 1 year in Minnesota where it was down, I'm not going to hold that against him. Maybe a second year in the system might help him. So I had Rudy Gobert as my 7.
He was hurt this year.
Yeah, I would be honest. Rudy Gobert is at the bottom of my list because he provide. I'm sorry, like
And bottom? Do you mean like the bottom of starters or the bottom of the upper echelon?
on the bottom of the bottom of starters. Yeah, because I just listen. I've spoken when you provide no offense for me. Hard for me to get up in that, especially in the. I mean, how many times have I heard that guys who just provide defense can't play on the court, and guys who just provide offense can't really play on the court unless you're playing at like a Steph Curry or Damian Lillard type level.
I agree with you, Brandon. But in the past, he's been a one-man defense, and when you look at
we're not. Wait, I just want to. We're not talking past. We're talking next year. This past year as well. We're not talking a couple years ago. That's all I'm saying. This is not an all-time list. This is what's happening right now.
He's also coming off an injury-riddled year where he's in a new environment. I think you have to build around Rudy, and if the Timberwolves do that well, you're getting a top 7 player at the position pretty easily. Now, I would have Porzingis over him because Porzingis is, to use the word infinitely better offensively.
Yeah.
But I think Gobert this year, opponents still shot 4% worse at the rim. He was an elite rim protector, and I saw a lot of the backlash they got. It was kind of more directed at Karl Towns, his injury. I don't think Gobert is the reason they fell short this year. In fact, he defended Nikola Jokic better than Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo.
Yeah. Which I said he was going to do.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, DeAndre Ayton, who I'm assuming you have ahead of him, he got pummeled by Jokic. There's no world where Ayton is better than Rudy Gobert. I'm sorry. And I think it's disrespectful to have him outside your top 10. At least your top 15, man.
No, he's not in my. He's number 12. He's not outside my top.
You said he was at the bottom of your starters list.
Well, that's where I should have specified. That's where my list ends is 12. I didn't go any further. Well, yeah, sorry about that. I should have specified.
I ranked like 45.
Yeah, I bet you did. I bet you did. My number. So we're on 8, right? Or 7? Was just on 7.
I just listed my 7. So yeah.
You listed your 7th. My 7th was Kristaps Porzingis. John, did you list your 7th?
Oh, it would be Brook Lopez, who I didn't get to talk about before.
Go ahead, talk about Brook
Lopez. Lopez was a top 5 center this year. He was one of the best rim protectors in the sport. Opponent shot 7% worse the last 3 years when he's defending the rim. He should have won Defensive Player of the Year to me because, well, Jaren averages more blocks. He's more disciplined and he's a better post defender. He's 7 feet tall, 280 pounds, but he can move a little bit too. There's the impression that Brook Lopez is a one-trick pony. He just blocks shots and spots up offensively. That's not true. In the games Giannis missed, he averaged 19 points per game. Think back to Game 5, Game 6, when Giannis did not play in the conference finals in 2021. It was Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, and Brook Lopez, plus Drew Holiday, of course. But they were going to Lopez for instant offense in the low block, and he was giving Atlanta buckets. He's also a 35% three-point shooter, and he did that this year on volume. I think he shot a career high from three-point range. There's so much to Brook Lopez's game. I'm like, he's one of the most underrated players in the sport. He had his best year arguably at 35 years old, and the reason the Bucks crumbled in the playoffs was not because of him or Middleton. It was because Giannis missed 13 free throws and fouled a three-point shooter in an elimination game at home. They lost by 2. And so I think at large, the Bucks defense, when Lopez missed all of 2022, they ranked 14th. This year he comes back, and they're right back at that level. And all the years Lopez dominated. I think he's severely underrated, and he was the Bucks' second best player this year.
You want to know what, John? While you were talking there, giving your little soliloquy, gospel stuff right there, right? I decided to put Brook Lopez at my number 8 spot. Okay. This guy, I've never seen anybody get more hype for Brook Lopez than probably his family. But yeah, so I don't need to speak on it anymore. John did a better job than I ever could. So yeah, Brook Lopez at number 8 for me.
I also have Brook Lopez at number 8. When we did our Defensive Player of the Year awards, and I gave mine to Brook Lopez, and I touched on a couple of the things that changed in his career from him going as a predominantly paint guy, not the most fantastic defender, and then he just completely transformed his game from a guy that didn't have a jump shot to a deadly jump shot from the corner. The guy shot 37% from three, 53% from the field. I mean, he's not dominating the boards like he used to, but he's not a spring chicken anymore. But he's still impacting the game on both phases, on the defense and on the offense. I think Brook Lopez has become one of those players that you can't hate the guy. He's just a very good ball player, and any team would be lucky to have him.
You know what's always like not even impressed me, just like one of the weirdest things to see is Brook Lopez drive the ball and him do like his Euro step or his, his 2 steps. It's just the weirdest thing because he got the longest legs and and it's just so, and the way it almost looks like he always makes his shot too because he's so much taller than the guy that's usually guarding him that he just sees right over them. He's like freaking 6 feet away from the rim. So he's like, okay, this is, Banks open, always open. So taking it.
10,000 points with the Nets. Fun fact, people always say he's the Nets all-time leading scorer. That's by 4 points. So it's a record he got while in the second half, literally the second half of his Nets tenure, he was in the trade block the entire time.
Who's number 2?
Buck Williams. He played back in the day, I think the 1980s, when they're just like a 5-6 year franchise.
I gotta be honest, that's so depressing, dude, for the Nets. Like, just
yeah, but they got Mikal Bridges now, so obviously they're gonna be fun. Number 8 for me, I had Rudy Gobert, but I think we're on the 9 now, right?
Yeah, I think you're on 9. I'm on 9.
Yeah,
you can make a case here for a couple of different guys. I think this is the 3rd tier. You got tier 1. I'm sure it is right here. You got tier 2, which is actually there's 4 tiers. Tier 2 is Embiid it's Embiid and Davis, level-headed. Tier 3 is the 6 guys or the 5 guys we just named, with Gobert and Lopez being the end of it. I think the 4th tier starts with Miles Turner.
Who do you got, Justin, at 9?
Actually, this was a tough one. I'm just a really big fan of this guy. I got Jonas Valanciunas.
Okay.
I think he's tough. He's a versatile scorer. And it sucks that we didn't get to see him play on the floor too much with Zion. But when they are playing together, they were a 1 seed. I like him.
Yeah, I Valanciunas is a little bit lower. For me, it's Vucevic. He was a number 1 guy in Orlando. I know that's not saying a lot, but and now he's in Chicago, but he's still a 17-11 guy. Not the best 3-point shooter, but for a guy who's 6'11", 7 feet, he can shuts the court. So yeah, that's what he's not going to give you much defensively, but like John said, we're talking lesser tier guys right now. So that's what I got Vucevic.
And for a 2010, these 2 guys would be even higher. I think both have grown their games as 3-point shooters and rebounders too. The reason though they're not in that tier is just because defensively they're both terrible.
Yeah.
Especially Valanciunas, he can't move too well. But I think the case for Turner is that he's a 2-way player. He's one of the best rim protectors, and I know he's not a defensive anchor like Brook Lopez, but he can man down the 4. And then offensively, 35% 3-point shooter. This year averaged your career high in points per game, rebounds, and 3 throw attempts per game. I think you're seeing Turner at just 26 years old. He was drafted in 2015 at 18 years old. He has been one of the more underrated players and underappreciated because in his early years, it was marred by Paul George and the trade rumors. No one really paid much attention to Turner, but he's performed well in the playoffs too. And I think he could be kind of like the missing piece for a lot of teams out there that need rim protection and floor spacing. So he's overlooked.
So you guys broke up. I don't know if you guys were having connection issues. I was. Did you pick Vucevic? Because I heard you meant to pick the Bulls.
You were lagging a little bit. Me and John were doing fine. I had Vucevic at 9. John had
Miles Turner
at 9.
Okay.
And he was talking about his 2-way versatility is why he has him ranked higher than what we have Vucevic and Valanciunas. So number 10 for me is John mentioned his name earlier. I know he doesn't like the guy, but he doesn't like the player, the guy on the court. The guy's probably perfectly fine. DeAndre Ayton. I do believe listen, he's on a winning team right now, and I think we all know he's not in the right situation for the team and for himself. What they ask him to do or what they need from him, he cannot provide. What he provides is a 20 and 10 guy who's not going to give you much defensively. And I've spoken about this before. What he can provide is be on name a shitty team. The Utah Jazz, the Washington Wizards. He can be on that team and
Big
he can
point.
get you 23 and 11 or whatever, right? They're not going to win. They're not going to win, but he's going to get you numbers, right?
They're going 25 games. He's averaged 25 points.
Yes. And that's why I have him here. Is he's a guy who can give you offensive effort, offensive scoring. Defensively, he's not going to give you shit. We've seen enough. I'm not going to even try and make that argument. So that's where I have him number 10 because he is a guy who I do believe can average 23 and 11 on a shitty team. But yeah,
on a shitty team. I want to add the reason Ayton is so unlikable is because he's wasted potential. He's a lot like Andre Drummond, and he provides zero rim pressure. He's the softest center I've ever seen, and he's got defensive tools. The guy can defend the post and in pick and roll. But opponents, they basically have runways to the rim because he's not a shot blocker, and he provides zero resistance. I think there's just something missing upstairs, and he's getting paid all the money too, so it's not going to improve. To be honest with you guys, I have Ayton at 14.
Yeah, he's. I will say this to the upstairs thing. I mean, when a guy like Devin Booker during a playoff game has to come to you and say, "What do you do? Do you want to win?" Like questioning your want to win. That's not a good look at all. I should never, as a teammate, should ever have to ask you and question your want and will to win. If I have to do that, we can't be on the same wavelength. We can't. So I 100% agree. I hear you guys. Yeah.
So who'd you have at 10, John?
This is funny because this guy also got pummeled in the playoffs, Jared Allen. Jared Allen's an all-star. He's one of the best defenders. The thing was he ended the season so poorly. In the same way Ayton got outplayed by Ivica Zubac, Jared Allen got thoroughly outplayed by Mitchell Robinson.
John, this is why I wanted to ask you. Would you not want to have Mitchell Robinson over Jared Allen then?
The reason I have Allen is because, while that 5-game series was ugly, he provides a little bit more in the post defensively, a little bit more durable, a little bit of a better, he can shoot it from mid-range. He's developed that. I also think he's a better rim protector too. He moves a little bit better because Robinson, when he came into the league, he was super mobile, but he's added a little bit of weight and then he's lost it. It feels like Robinson is a 20-minute per game guy, whereas Jared Allen can man down the floor and he can anchor a defense. I truly believe we've seen with the Cavaliers this year, they were the best defense in the league. And a lot of that was because of Evan Mobley. But without Jared Allen, the Cavaliers were not a top 5 defense. And so I would rather have him over Mitchell Robinson because I think he's a better anchor and he can play more minutes for me.
He's healthier too.
That's a great point John just hit on that. I don't think he was trying to make this point, but when ranking these players, we're not talking from a perspective of, like, let's say I'm the GM of the Milwaukee Bucks, John's the GM of the Pelicans, and Justin's the GM of the Rockets, right? Or whatever. Sorry to give you the worst team, Justin, but we're not talking from that perspective, because if we were talking from a team perspective, we would obviously rank these players in terms of fit. And some of these players, like a Jared Allen or a Rudy Gobert, probably would fit better than like a Valanciunas or a Vucevic or a DeAndre Ayton, because they provide something that we don't need from them. Like, unless you're wanting a Anthony Davis or a Jokic or a Embiid, because they can give you that offensive scoring as well. I just wanted to hit on that real quick. Go ahead, Justin.
So this one was tough, like deciding between 10, because I didn't have – I would love to go Mitchell Robinson at this point. So, and I didn't have KP listed at all. But – I guess, this one's tough because I could go Jared Allen here because I have him on my list too, but I have him and Clint Capella next to each other. Now, I think Clint Capella, his shine has kind of dimmered a little bit because of the postseason. That postseason run where they got to the Eastern Conference Finals was incredible. But I think Clint Capella is one of the more perfect pick and roll centers in the NBA on both offense and defense. And the only thing is his game is really fitted because – with a perfect point guard, and he has that with Trae Young that can feed him the ball, or Murray that can feed him the ball, and back then in his Houston days with James Harden. So I think his game is really reliant on somebody being able to feed him. But when he's at his peak of powers, I think Clint Capella is a dangerous player, man, on both defense and offense.
He manned the fort for that run by himself.
Yeah. So that wraps up our top 10, guys. So
Well, I have to ramble about Nick Claxton now. I think Nick Claxton should be up here too.
Okay. I think that's enough rambling for Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton.
Well, don't disrespect him. He literally defended Joel Embiid in the playoffs at 200 pounds and an all defensive team.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do it by himself. They were sending triple teams at Joel Embiid at certain points. But we got a topic we got to talk about. No report has come out yet. Still Thursday morning, but there's been a lot of rumors that it could happen as soon as today. I'm hinting at the guy that John has put on this thumbnail in a beautiful red jersey, Justin, I might add, a beautiful red jersey. DeAndre Hopkins. Rumors are that he could be coming to the New England Patriots. Thank the Lord. Jesus. Say his name.
Listen, I've been saying that things need to change in New England. Things absolutely need to change in New England. And Brandon, I know you stood pat and said this cannot happen. New England will not change. The writing's been on the wall all this time. The fact that he's having a 2-day visit with New England says a lot, a whole lot. I'm super optimistic right now. The fact that he's in New England for 2 days, get this shit done, man.
Especially because the reports are also coming out that there's no animosity between O'Brien and Hopkins. That's apparently all cleared up, whatever the hell. There's rumors that the only way he was going to sign with the Titans is if they offered him $20 million per year, and that was not going to happen. Justin just said he's spending 2 days. He's there right now in Foxborough, in Boston, Massachusetts. There's rumors. Ian Rappaport, one of the highly touted reporters in the NFL circle, that a deal could be done as soon as today for Hopkins to the Patriots. Listen, I tweeted it. I said it on the show, and I'm going to say it again. If we get DeAndre Hopkins, we're winning the AFC East. 100% guaranteed. Okay, 100% guaranteed.
Guaranteed. We're the fourth best team in the division.
Yeah, like Charles Barkley. I guarantee.
Look, the Patriots got $14 million in effective cap space. They can pay him a lot more than a Kansas City or a Buffalo. Buffalo's diva wide receiver much more. I'm not saying DHop's a diva. They have a diva. DeAndre is exactly what New England does need. And if you get him, there's zero more excuses for Mac Jones. I know Bill O'Brien did DHop a favor by getting him out of Houston, which we won't really talk about. He is one of the best offensive minds, I think. And we saw that last year Alabama didn't do well with him because they had no weapons. You give him a top 5 receiver last decade, at least top 10 on his floor, that missed half of last year, still had 700, 800 yards. And then as well, a pretty good running game. Not the best offensive line at the tackle spots, but you've got Ramondre Stevenson too. And you've got a couple of different tight ends that can all do in the red zone. Mac Jones will finally have an opportunity to be fairly evaluated. And I think that is the biggest thing to take away here, because the defense could be the best in football this year. But on your point, Brandon, saying they're going to, what was the word that you used? Easily going to win the AFC East?
No,
was that what it was?
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
I said 100% guaranteed they're going to win the AFC East.
What makes you say that?
I mean, I feel like you hit on all the points. We're going to have arguably the best defense in the league. We have the best head coach in the league. Mac Jones now has a offensive coordinator that is actually competent in the offensive side of the football. Our offensive line, I expect if we get DHop, everything is going to figure itself out. I 100% believe that, especially because of Bill O'Brien, who has shown that he can coach offense. Maybe not a head coach, definitely not a head coach, but he can coach offense.
Oh, to be fair, Bill O'Brien was a good coach. He was a terrible GM.
Okay.
He was okay.
He was okay.
Think about his quarterbacks in those years he was having winning seasons with. I don't think he was a bad coach, and he didn't get any criticism up until he made the DHop trade. And so I think that clouds our opinions of him.
He was okay. But I think it opens everything up. Juju is going to be put in his rightful position, which is a number 2. My only anger with that move was that he was going to be asked to be our number 1. You tell me Juju's our 2, I'm freaking ecstatic, because Juju is a great number 2. We got Tyquan Thornton. There's a lot of reports coming out that the Patriots are really high on him. He's making plays in practice. This guy's 6'3" speedster running 4.2, I think 4.3. We actually get to see what he can do with an offensive coordinator who's competent and a quarterback who's not injured and getting pummeled. We got Ramondre Stevenson. We got Hunter Henry, who even with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge calling offense was putting up okay seasons. We got Mike Gesicki, who's going to be a great red zone threat. Kendrick Bourne, who I believe is a playmaker. When you get the ball in his hands, he makes plays. Our offensive line, while you say there's some question marks at the tackle position, Trent Brown might be leaving. We just got a new offensive line coach because Patricia was coaching the offensive line. And again, that was a terrible mistake. It's going to be better. It's going to be better. Hold on. Let me finish. We still got Devontae Parker's probably going to get moved or traded or whatever if we get DHop because they're kind of similar players and DHop is infinitely better than him. And then defensively, we're going to have arguably the best defense in the league. Our cornerback, can we talk about Marcus Jones? Special teams, offense and defense. Jack Jones, who's just a knack for the football and gets his hands on the football. We still got Jonathan Jones, who re-signed. Julius Peppers, Jabril Peppers,
not related.
Who Bill Belichick literally said when asked what does he look like from this year to last year, he said, "Oh my God, he's so much better than what he was last year. He's a completely different player." And Joe Judge is back where he rightfully belongs, special teams, and he is a great special teams coach. I just am pumped for this team if we get DeAndre Hopkins because everything's going to fall into place and we're going to look like the Patriots of old. Not with Brady, but Max is going to take actual progressions. And like John stated perfectly is he can be rightly evaluated now.
You see, so my biggest concern with New England here is while I as ecstatic as I'll be as if DHop signs with us is Mac Jones. That's the main question. So he had an awesome rookie year, then a very rough second year, and now this third season after regressing. Let's see how much he can progress. Is it going to be similar to his rookie season? Is it going to be better than his rookie season, which is what we're all hoping for? So I'm not going to jump the gun and say, yeah, the New England's going to win the division with guys like Josh Allen and now Aaron Rodgers in this thing. So it's very tough for me to say, yeah, New England's going to be the best team in this division now just because we have the greatest head coach in football. Like, that's not the excuse anymore. Now we got to really put this to the table. And Mac Jones needs to be a top 15 quarterback for us. He absolutely has to be. Our defense has to live up to what we're saying. They have to be a top-tier defense. And then most of all, we need to be healthy. We need to be healthy. We need to be consistent. And if we can do that, then yeah, you never know. Maybe the AFC East is up for grabs. But it's kind of tough. This isn't one of those divisions where you can just be like, oh, for certain, we had New England finishing fourth, and then now they're going to finish first with guys like Jalen Ramsey up in Miami on defense, and we struggled to beat Miami. Aaron Rodgers in the Meadowlands, and it's just I don't know. I'm not sold just yet. Ask me again week 5.
Okay. So you're saying if we get so Justin, let me ask you, Blake, just straight up. If we get DeAndre Hopkins, where do the New England Patriots finish in the AFC East?
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I'm not going to say one. I'm saying the AFC East can be up for grabs, but it relies on a lot.
I don't know. I think the Bills possibly going to take a step back. Not saying they're going to fall off a cliff, but I think they take a little bit of a step back. I think the Jets can be had, and I think the Dolphins have a lot of question marks when it comes to Tua's health.
Right. You guys do have the third best quarterback at best, which is probably why Justin is also lukewarm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I expect so. Like, let's say that. So, right, Mac Jones in his rookie year, 22-13, 3,800 yards, and a 67% completion percentage. I believe we get DHop. He throws for over 4,000 yards. Would you guys agree? Concur?
With Bill O'Brien, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, concur, Justin, or no? You seem I don't understand.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not entirely sold yet on Mac Jones. I'm not sold yet, so I can't.
Okay.
I can't guarantee.
You're low on him because of his ceiling, not the floor. Because the floor, he was awesome as a rookie, but I don't know how much better he gets than that as a player.
But
I feel
that's
like he was
my
still ready
point,
made.
John.
But like
That's my
with
point. I don't know.
D-Hop, but I
He
feel like
regressed in his second season. So now we're expecting him
but
to
not
progress
because
from
of
that
him,
second
Justin.
season.
You
Is
know
it
it
going to be
wasn't
the
his
equivalent
fault.
of the rookie year? I don't know. I don't want that. I need
But
more.
Justin, you know it wasn't like let's be logical. It wasn't his fault he regressed.
No, and I know that he had
So
Matt
then
Patricia
if
and Joe Judge coaching him, but we're also expecting him. We just did a AFC rankings not too long ago where I had New England finishing 4th. So now off of one player being signed, I'm going to throw them one? No.
when you get a top 10 receiver, yes. A guy like DeAndre Hopkins with Juju moving into a number 2 guy, that's easily 2 guys who can have 1,000 yards with Bill O'Brien. Easily. Ramondre Stevenson taking another step. 2 tight end. When Bill O'Brien was the New England Patriots offensive coordinator, how great were our tight ends? We got 2 good tight. I'm not saying these guys are on that level. No, I'm not.
Which is why
we got 2 tight ends. Mike Gesicki, who has proven to be a very good starting caliber tight end, very much better red zone threat than being like a stretch the field guy, and Hunter Henry, who is a great possession a tight end. I don't know, man. I understand your concerns, but what I'm not understanding is why you can't see that D-Hop comes in and can't instantly make Mac Jones a better quarterback.
I can see that. I'm just saying I don't see how this one move catapults from 4th place to 1st.
Because this is regardless of not having the receivers, everybody was saying the Patriots could still maybe not compete, but they were going to make it dirty against these other 3 teams. Like it wasn't going to be an absolute blowout, right? You can look at last season. Yes, we had a down season. What was our record? Was it 8-9?
Yes.
Won 8 games with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as our offensive coordinator. Okay.
You guys know that.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Bill O'Brien, I think he's honestly one of the most misunderstood coaches. In his first 3 years in Houston, he won 9 games all 3 times. His quarterbacks in those years, Case Keenum, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, TJ Yates, who started a playoff game, Brock Osweiler, and Tom Savage. Their defense was what led them there, but the offense was pretty much maximized given the quarterback personnel, given that talent. And O'Brien in New England did a great job earlier before his run with the Texans. Now, it's also important to recognize, too, that while he's not necessarily he won games. It's a lot like Mike Vrabel, right? He was able to maximize win 9 games every single year with those rosters. The 2 things they're missing were play calling and number 1 wide receiver. You get those 2 things, and the only concern you would possibly have, because Justin, this is Bill Belichick, he finds ways to win. He won 10 games with Matt Castle. The only possible concern you can really have with the Patriots is in the tackle positions with Riley Reif and Trent Brown.
Justin, I got you. Oh, I got you now.
John, am I being too hard? Am I being too hard?
This is what I'm about to get at you for. You are the biggest believer in a certain team that doesn't have good quarterback play or great quarterback play. That's the 49ers. What are the 49ers great at? Defense, right? Patriots have a top defense in the league. Mm-hmm. They also have their offensive line is better, okay, but our offensive line is not going to be bottom half of the league.
They have Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel.
Okay, and I understand. Justin, time out. Wait, stop. DeAndre Hopkins is better than Deebo and Brandon Ayuk. Juju Smith-Schuster as a number 2. Ayuk, Juju.
No,
we're not saying that's a blowout. That ain't a blowout.
They're on the same level.
No, they're not.
See,
Justin, this guy's at 1,400 yards in number 2.
Justin, are you kidding me right now,
Juju has injury concerns, and we're already
he played 15 games last year,
and we're already concerned about Juju's injury history.
He played 15
had to walk on eggshells around.
Deebo Samuel doesn't have injury concerns. CMC doesn't have injury concerns. George Kittle doesn't have injury concerns. Are you joking?
Nobody's joking, Brandon. At their peak of powers, who's better?
Okay, who? Brandon Ayuk and Juju? Who's that? Juju had 1,500 yards.
The 49ers have not won a Super Bowl in my lifetime.
Justin,
What are
all
you
I'm
trying to
getting
say?
at is Justin, let's not make this a debate. Let's not get angry at each other. Okay, I'm sorry. I want to apologize. Let's come to me.
You said who was
Come to me.
better at their peak. That's why.
I'm asking you just comparable. These teams are these are not washes that I'm not comparing. You got Bill Belichick. Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator. We got two really good receivers in their spots. We got two tight ends who can do work. Ramondre Stevenson has shown great strides. You know, whoever, I don't even know who the hell our other running backs are, if I got to be completely honest with you. I haven't looked, but it's probably some rookies that we're going to make stars. Okay,
Pierre, Tron, Ty
yeah.
Montgomery.
All right. You got to see this, man. I don't know how you can have such faith in the 49ers when they haven't had great quarterback play, but with the Patriots and you see what they are surrounding against their quarterback and their defense and stuff, and having the great and one and only Bill Belichick, how you can't see that when you've seen it for how. What did Bill do with Tom Brady, a 6th-round draft pick, 20 plus years ago? Mac Jones can't do that, buddy.
Okay,
Troy
so
Brown and DHop.
I think you talk, and this is the difference between me and you when we talk about the Patriots. You talk with the rose-colored glasses on when we talk about New England.
I spoke straight
Brandon,
facts right
Brandon,
there,
you could say that you're speaking facts, but realistically, you had New England winning 13, 14 games last year with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the offense coordinators.
Okay.
So I don't think that you're seeing this as clearly. New England still has flaws, okay? You want to compare them to the San Francisco 49ers. Fine, let's do it. Have we seen Bill Belichick coach since Tom Brady left? Yes. How much success have we had? Not too much. But we've seen Kyle Shanahan coach all these mid-tier quarterbacks and have a successful group.
Elite
We've seen
offense.
it.
Now we have the
George
offense
Kittle
to match with the defense.
No. I let you talk. George Kittle's is miles ahead of Hunter Henry.
No shit.
CMC is miles ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. And then plus their style of offense, time out. Their style of offense in San Francisco is so it's so quirky, it's tricky, it's versatile. We don't have Debo Samuel taking 10 carries from the backfield while also taking a slant route, while also taking a small drag route 70 yards for a touchdown. We don't have that skilled player yet. If you think Juju stacks up to what Debo is, doesn't matter.
I didn't say you're lying. I said Brandon
Ayuk now. I'm touching on Brandon Ayuk now. Brandon Ayuk is one of the best up-and-coming wide receivers. As a one, he stepped up last year.
He's not a one. Debo's the one.
I said when Debo went down, Brandon Ayuk stepped up for the San Francisco 49ers. He stepped up. And you know what Juju did? He disappeared in Kansas City.
John,
I had him on my fantasy team. Don't even tell me he did it because he was not the focal point of that offense.
He's going to be 2, though. He's going to be a 2.
No, I guarantee you in a few weeks, we'll be re-looking at that wide receiver core and like, man, I don't know if Juju is good enough for this Patriots group because he's so inconsistent with his injuries. He's always injured. He finds a way to get hurt. We're already having injury concerns and we're in camp.
He's really only had one injury. That was
15 games last year, Justin. I know you got to go. I know you got to go really quick.
Concerned about his injuries. So
yeah, I've never been concerned about Juju's injuries.
My honest take on the New England Patriots. I believe we can be a playoff team if we sign DHop. I believe we'll be a wild card team with him. I do believe Mac Jones progresses, but I still don't know if Mac is truly the guy. I am concerned about that. I want to see it, and that is it. I'm not looking at it with rose-colored glasses on. I'm not saying we're going to take the damn Super Bowl or push Kansas City to the brink. No, but we can be a playoff team. And then you never know. If we can get hot of late and catch a streak going into the postseason, then maybe we make a run for it. But at this moment, I'm not going to instantly react about a wide receiver that still hasn't even signed with the team yet. When he signs, we'll see what happens. But I'm not going to say we're going to just jump to first place. This is not the same AFC East that we grew up watching, Brandon. This is not Ryan Fitzpatrick in Buffalo. This is not Mark Sanchez, Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. It's not the same Jets team. This is now in Miami. It's a completely different group. I think you're looking at it and you're looking at history and saying, oh, this is how it was, so this is how it's going to be. It is not the same AFC East. It's much more tougher. And probably, if DHop comes to New England, this is probably the best division in football.
Oh no, yeah, it's the best division without DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, the AFC North is the best in
okay,
football,
that's
but
I know Justin's got to go, so I just got to say this. I have not, if you listen back to this debate between me and Justin, I have not been using rose-colored glasses. And I talked about all our future stuff. The only old thing I brought up was what did Bill Belichick do 20 plus years ago with a young Tom Brady who was a game manager? Great defense, and our offense back then was not what it was right now. That's all I'm saying. I have brought up what's happening right now. And that's all. Nobody's saying Mac Jones is going to be freaking Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. He's just got to be a game manager like you love your boy Jimmy Garoppolo. All he does is win. I think Mac Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Mac Jones can do what Jimmy Garoppolo did. Sue me. But it's been a great episode, guys. I can't. This is awesome.
thank you guys for watching, staying to the very end. And if you enjoyed, drop a like on the video and also subscribe for more consistent NFL and NBA content. Much more coming on up in the NFL all season. We're excited to rank more position groups. We still haven't ranked our all-time centers, and we'll do that this summer. But as always, until next time.
Stay classy.
Best in the world.